And we're back. All right, great.
So,
Good. Well, that was
I am
fun.
much refreshed.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right, so, so what we said, GameStop, they're essentially taking GameStop's most profitable business away. Money's got to go somewhere. Where does it go? It goes back home, you said. But home to whom?
That's a good question. Why is Sony doing this?
Well,
Let's go through each of the three. Well, okay, first you said Nintendo.
Right.
You brought up Nintendo. There's been no rumors about the Wii U doing anything like this.
No, and if I were a betting man, which I'm not, but if I were a betting man, I would bet that they have full backwards compatibility on their system. Because Nintendo
Well, when you say full, you mean the Wii.
Yes.
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 But GameCube
but the
and back
Wii
available for download.
But the Wii ran GameCube discs.
True.
So why wouldn't it be?
So they can sell the GameCube games via digital download. That's why.
Well, I mean, yes, but my point is, I think it would have full backwards compatibility. They have nothing to lose.
I would definitely see Wii games because, in some fashion, the Wii motes are still very much a part of the Wii U.
Yes.
They're secondary controllers.
Yes.
So it's very easy for them to integrate Wii games into that.
It is.
And backwards compatibility, I maintain that's one of the biggest reasons the PS2 got as big as it did. That
Agreed.
and DVD playback.
Yes.
But, I mean...
Which you did right at the right time.
The fact when the PS2 came out, that was pretty new to have backwards compatibility. Bam, you get a PS2. Not only can you play DVDs, you have a giant collection of PS1 games that you can automatically play, which is good because the early PS2 games were really crappy.
Yeah, they were.
But
Time Splitters.
Except for Dark Cloud. No, that was a good game.
Time Splitters was all right. The original was a little crappy, though. Time Splitters 2 was awesome.
That was much better.
Yeah.
Shadow of Destiny. I enjoyed it. Anyway. Point. Point being is that why wouldn't Nintendo do this used game trickery?
Because Nintendo, for better or for worse, is profitable in hardware, which, to my knowledge, no one else is. Mm-hmm. And most, if not all, of the most popular games, the best-selling games for Nintendo, are made by Nintendo.
Exactly. Nintendo is a publisher as well as a hardware manufacturer
And a developer.
Yeah, they're all of those things. In fact, the best-selling games on pretty much any Nintendo system are Nintendo games.
Right.
So why would they want to preclude other people or stop other people from purchasing those used games? And
I think Nintendo. Let's talk about the different ways to think about this.
Okay.
I think Nintendo probably looks at this as this is a necessary evil, right? Mm-hmm. They make a game, it goes out to market, they make their money. That's it. It's okay. They are well attuned to the Japanese model of video game sales, which has been in place for 30 years now. You make a game, you release it to the public, they sell it, you walk away. And then you go capitalize on merchandising and everything else.
Right.
Right?
Also,
it's not, they don't care how many times it's bought and sold from that point.
You also have to realize that the 3DS notwithstanding now, Nintendo almost always makes a profit on every piece of hardware they sell.
That's what I said.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So beyond...
They're only hardware profitable, and I think they're the only ones to date that is hardware profitable.
Oh yeah. Well, the Wii, I'm sure, is still hardware profitable. I don't think it ever wasn't.
No, it was the day it was launched. My point is that no one else is hardware profitable.
No.
Everyone else loses money on every unit they sell.
Pretty much.
Still.
Or if they make any money, it's very little. But
if they make any, and I don't think any of them do.
But so something else to
especially not Sony.
So why would Microsoft and Sony do this where Nintendo would not? And I think it's interesting to look at where would this extra fee go?
Right.
Would it go purely to Microsoft and Sony?
And I don't know the answer to that question.
I think it's partially distributed to the game maker.
The ESA would probably argue that it's best for the developers.
Regardless, it wouldn't completely go to the developer.
Because I think the entire argument...
Sony and Microsoft are getting their cut.
Yeah,
it's a way for them to make their hardware losses somewhat profitable.
Yes, and I understand that. I mean, it makes sense.
Or more revenue.
And to me, again, if you're a hardware company, what choice do you have? This is another reason why
money on every bit.
This is why Nintendo made the decisions that they did. We can remain profitable by producing hardware that is not cutting edge, it's not the bleeding edge of technology, but we can still produce great games. We can show that the systems experience is what's best. And you know what? That's awesome. I think that's great.
Right.
But they aren't losing money on their hardware. If you want to produce a cutting-edge, bleeding-edge technology system,
Which I'm sure the next PS whatever and Xbox will be.
Orbis and Durango,
Yeah.
they will be cutting edge, and they will all lose money in hardware.
Right. So, man, I lost my thought. When you have, never mind, keep going.
Well, I just think it's so
I had an awesome thought and I lost it.
Yeah, it'll come back if it's important. Anyway,
Probably not.
But I think the people that are making this claim are probably the vendors, the hardware vendors, primarily Sony and Microsoft, but then probably the publishers, because the publishers are like the record, the record labels of the video game industry, right? You have all of these great video game developers that publish through someone like EA, that publish through someone like Ubi, right? The publishers want to get their money in the resale.
Right.
The developers get paid. It's just like the situation where everyone was arguing about Napster, right? The musician sits in the studio. They get paid a lot of money up front before anything even gets produced. You sit in the studio. You get paid to be in the studio. You produce a record. You get paid for your time that you're there. You get paid for all the time that you spend on tour where you make your real big bucks. And your catalog belongs to your record company. Mm-hmm. And your record company can do all kinds of things like license it, like put packaging on it, like, launch ancillary tours or appearances with all these other people. You know what I mean?
Right.
So those people, I think, are who's driving the push to get money off of used game sales. And not necessarily the developers themselves. Because I'm not sure they're going to get paid very much more money no matter what they do.
I'm sure they might get some sort of a cut of this new fee.
But it will be small.
I'm sure it'll be small.
Which is why everyone was so pissed off at Metallica when they were bitching about Napster.
And it's not to say that Sony and Microsoft don't produce or develop or publish their own games. Of course, they both have their own internal studios and blah, blah, but it's not nearly as prolific as Nintendo.
Yeah, that's
which
changing
is the point,
too. This is what Microsoft spun off Bungie and Rare, and all these other kinds of things. So.
And we actually have a bunch of really good statements just kind of flying by.
Yeah.
The cake is a lie. Oh,
which,
not so much of that.
Yeah.
But Lord of Nothing. I'm sorry, not Lord of Nothing.
Which is the cake? The cake.
Darn it. This went by too quickly. Male White Mage. What about used consoles? How will they be affected?
Yeah. And
so
here's the thing. This is why it's important, right, guys? If you sell anything, if you sell widgets, you don't get value of the resale. You don't.
Right. So do they just not care? Well, the point, though, is that if you have all these games tied to this console,
right,
does that mean that if someone buys your console,
they have the right to use all those games?
What if they don't have those games? What if they just buy your console?
Because I think it's actually going to be tied to the
account.
Live account. Yeah.
I think it's going to be a combination of the account and the...
Yeah.
So if you there's probably going to be...
You can activate that hardware for that account.
There has to be some sort of option to wipe... Or maybe it'll just... I don't know. See, again, this is all rumor, so this is all not fleshed out.
Nobody knows.
I think it would make more sense to have the game tied to your account.
Yeah, but even if it
almost
did...
As, like if you... Like, for example, if you download... and someone else, I'm sorry, I forgot, I missed the name. Someone was saying these guys might go to the Apple model where you have an account, you have games that you download off of the App Store, and then that's tied to your account. If you get a new iPhone, I'm sorry, that's not an iPhone, but I'm pointing at it because it's a phone.
Yep.
You get a new iPhone,
boom. Yep.
You don't have to worry about rebuying all your apps because it's all on your account.
Right.
And I think that makes the most sense. I think tying it to the physical hardware makes less sense.
Yes, and I think that's true. We're not sure what's going to happen, but my point is that the people that are pushing for this movement are not people that are of the illusion that, or those people are of the illusion that somehow software, game software, is different than everything else on the market. And that when you sell it, when something is sold on the street, they should get a cut of it again.
Right.
How does that work?
I think it's a question for the ages.
I just don't know how that works, and I don't think I'm not sure how sustainable it's going to be, and I think it will drive people to do things that they probably wouldn't otherwise do, like piracy.
I think that's a good way to wrap things up. Well, no, hold on. I got the best way to wrap up this topic.
Okay, what's that? You're going to open the door and then close it?
Yep.
Wow, that is good. He closed the door on the subject. All right, so so now we got to get to everybody's favorite part of the show.
Questions
and answers.
So yeah, I mean, we've hit upon a lot of topics. I saw a lot of great comments and questions going by that we couldn't address all at once.
Yep.
So if you got those questions, send them now
to a message
here.
There.
COTGW, send a message. And
go there.
It's time for, if they're just questions or comments. Could
be about topics.
Could be focused on the topics or the news that we talked about, or most anything else.
Anything
We're
else.
probably more likely to focus on the topics that we just talked about, but not necessarily.
Yeah, but whatever.
If there's something awesome,
maybe,
or not, we might talk about that. So let's see what we got.
All right, what do we got?
Well, we got all these messages.
Oh man, lots of them. Lots of good ones.
Yep.
All right, what do we got here?
Yeah, there you go.
How many 16-bit gems is the Commodore?
This is from.
Oh, this is from On the Brink 87. Hey, On the Brink 87. How many of the 16-bit gems has the Commodore played, and how many of them has he completed? That is a tough question. I would say most of them I've played, and the reason why I can say most of them I've played is because we pretty much grew up playing the same games.
Yes.
So if he in fact
games.
owned them, I probably played them at some point. How many of them did I complete? Very few. Very few. I didn't have a lot of energy to go through and complete all those games back then. I just didn't. There were some that I've definitely gotten through. I would say probably 10% of them I've completed. Maybe one or two.
All right, one that sticks out in my mind is Illusion of Gaia.
Illusion of Gaia.
We played that one together.
That's a great game.
You found the key.
Open the door.
Yep.
Great game.
That was an original.
Yep.
I hadn't heard about this one.
Mm-hmm.
The Onion Knight sent a message.
The Onion Knight, who just came back to the Weekly Ringer, by the way. Welcome back.
Ding ding. Damn.
I didn't say Commodore.
I need to move this. I found an article on BBC News that video games have dropped a significant amount. I guess.
I don't know what that means.
Sales, maybe?
Sales, okay.
A significant amount in the past few months. Do you think public interest in video games is dropping? Could another video game crash happen within the next 5 to 10 years?
Man, that's a great question.
Now, that's always... A video game crash is always possible.
Yes.
But, as opposed to the last big video game crash, which was, early 80s.
82, 83, yeah.
84-ish.
Yeah.
Video games were seen more as a fad then. I don't see that really happening anymore. It's really just too ingrained in the culture.
Yeah, I think so too.
So as a full-on video game crash, I doubt that's going to happen.
Yep.
Now, there could be... And especially with the... you look at... We were also talking about this earlier. You look at video apps, video game apps for phones or tablets. Those guys, or those in general, are doing very well.
Yes.
I mean, Angry Birds...
Cleaning up.
And et cetera.
They're printing money.
You see something new, draw something. Something new is coming out almost every other month.
Yeah,
That's
draw
the
something.
New giant mega hit.
Yeah.
Minecraft,
Yeah.
There's a lot of...
But, in terms of video game sales dropping, I don't know that I would read that as anything but that we are in a recession, right? I mean, it is a tough... Now, you have made the argument that video games are recession-proof.
Yeah.
I think that argument is not correct.
Well, I think you're wrong.
But I think that... we could see that people aren't spending as much money on things like video games as they normally do. And I think we could see that drop as a result. I don't think that is the indication that video games are completely losing their popularity.
Hold on.
Why is there no video?
I don't know. No video? I see video.
I see video too. Maybe they're crazies.
That's quite possible.
Yeah. Anyway,
is anyone else not seeing? That's a question for you guys.
I have video. Boom.
There.
Have you clicked play? Now that is great. That is fantastic.
That's a good point.
That is a good point. You
try
can't
refreshing your page if you have no video. I see it too. So.
There you go.
But and also,
What are you trying to read?
Scanlan
Oh, okay, yeah.
has a very interesting, kind of inherent
I have no idea what you're trying
comment.
to say. Okay, good. Yeah, okay, good.
Introspect.